Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got a fountain pen focus for you, and I've got to be honest, it's a pen that I love and hate in equal amounts. The pen is the TWSBI Draco. I struggle with this pen because I love writing with it. It's such a nice writer. But the cost and some of the, what I would say, decisions that were made in the design, to me, they leave some questions to be answered. So join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen. We'll do some size comparisons, some weights and measures, a writing sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts and scores for this pen. Here we are down on the mat. Here we've got the TWSBI Draco. So this was a limited edition. By limited, it was a few thousand, so it's not really limited, is it? Take a look through the body. We start at the top here. We've got the TWSBI logo. Looks like that's been etched into the top of the acrylic. That's fairly flat. Then we've got a little step down until we come to the cap. The cap is tapering out all the way down. Just down there, we've got the clip. Here's the clip. Nice, I would say like a rosy gold colour. At least that's what it's meant to be. It looks to me more of a gold colour. Really nice and springy, really easy to get your fingers into there and actually spring that. As we come down the cap, we've got this acrylic. Then near the bottom, we've got TWSBI. I like the way this is aligned with the clip. I think that looks nice. A little bit of attention to detail there. As we come around, nothing else on there. At the bottom of the cap, we've got a little band here. This is also, it looks gold to me. I think it's meant to be rose gold. There's a tiny drop off down to the body. The body actually looks to be tapering in to me. So we're coming down the body. We've got another band, and then here we've got the piston filling mechanism. So that triggers the internal piston filler. This is a piston filling pen. I do like the acrylic. I like the material it's made from. It's nice. It's got lots of different colours in there. We've got reds, we've got blacks, and we've got this bit of chatoyancy here, just below the cap there. That to me is one of the big plus points about this pen. I think this looks really, really nice. We'll take off the cap. So that goes half. 1, about just over 1 1/4 turns, and then that reveals this TWSBI nib. So this one definitely looks rose gold to me. It's a fairly plain looking nib, so we've got the breather hole, below that we've got the TWSBI logo, and then below that we've got TWSBI. Got a little decorative border as well. This is one of the things which really lets this pen down to me. It's a number 5 size nib. It's a steel nib. It actually writes nicely, we'll see that in a while. But when I look at this, this nib seems very small compared to the rest of the body. If I pick it up and hold it, you can see it actually fits in my hand really nice. There's a nice length on it. My fingers, they're comfortable at the bottom of the section. The section has got that lip at the bottom, but it's not a sharp lip. It's got a nice taper out, so my fingers fit really nicely there. I hold my pens down near the base of the section, and that's just such a nice one to use. The section does taper out, and then we've got this ink window. Again, I'm being very picky here. I would have liked the ink window to have been a bit bigger, maybe double the width. Why I say that is, yes, I can see that there's ink in there, but I struggle to see what the ink level is, especially when I've got some of my darker inks. Top of that window, we've then got the threads. They're metal threads. The nib, as I've already said, that's the one thing. That's the only really major disappointment I have in this whole pen. Let's pop the cap back on. We'll take one last look at it. Then what we'll do, we'll swap over the view and we'll look at some size comparisons. So here I've brought in a Pilot Metropolitan and a Lamy Safari. The Draco, just ever so slightly longer than the Safari. And yeah, there's a noticeable difference between that and the Metropolitan. Let's look at these unposted. Unposted, very much a similar story in terms of length. We've got here the Safari just ever so slightly, and I'm only talking like 1 or 2 millimeters longer than the Draco. We can see the nibs all very much of a similar size. We do start to see a difference though in the sections. The Metropolitan very thin. The Draco, as I said, that's quite comfy for me. And then we've got the triangular section here on the Safari. Seems to be very similar in terms of width though to what I see on the Draco. Let's post the pens. Here we are with the pens posted. The Draco now starting to edge out from that Safari. The one thing I'm going to mention here with the Draco is how this cap posts. So it does post and it feels secure when it's on, but it actually posts just to the bottom here of this cap. So I always worry with this, if I do post it, that when I'm trying to take the cap off, if it's a bit stuck and I start twisting it a little bit, I'm going to end up ejecting ink. So this is a pen, although I'm showing you it posted, I'd never actually use posted. Let me just line these nibs up again. And I've got my super duper rule for doing that lining up. Let's swap over now and fetch in some pens that are in roughly the same price range. The pens that I've brought in a Platinum 3776 Century. That was 200 Australian dollars. The TWSBI Draco, that was 215 Australian dollars. I've also brought in a Sailor Pro Gear Slim. That was 224 Australian dollars. Now, both these pens, yes, they are shorter than the Draco when we look at it posted. The big difference between these two pens and the Draco, both the Sailor and the Platinum are 14 karat gold nibs. The Draco is steel. The Platinum nib also looks like it's slightly bigger, whereas the Sailor one actually looks very similar in terms of size to the Draco. Let's look at these unposted. Unposted, well, you can see there's still that size difference. I do find that with the Platinum and definitely with the Sailor, I need to use them posted. Otherwise, they just feel too small. They don't feel too back heavy when they're posted, but I do find, as I say, I do need to use them posted. Whereas the Draco, that for me, just a nice size. I don't need to have it posted. Sections, again, the sections on the Platinum and the Sailor, ever so slightly narrower than what we see on the Draco, and I do feel that when I'm writing, I think the Draco's got a really nice, comfortable section to use. Let's just pop the caps on these. With the cap on, well, now the Platinum and the Draco, we're coming very much into a similar size now, so we're starting to see a little bit of matching, but we don't write with the cap on, do we? The other big difference between these pens, as I've already said, the Draco, that's a piston filler. Both the Platinum and the Sailor, they're both cartridge converters. So you need to bear that in mind as well. Let's get these out of the way and we'll fetch in the rule of measuring. So here we've got the rule of measuring. Let's fetch in the pen. So the full pen with the cap on, that comes in at 14.2 centimetres. With the cap off, unposted, that comes in at 12.8 centimetres. Posted, there we're talking about 16.9 centimetres. Just going to stress, it will post, but it posts onto this filling cap, so I find it easier to use this unposted and not worry about getting ink all over. Widths, the width of the body, that comes in at 1.52 centimetres. The cap, slightly bigger, 1.6 centimetres. The section is 1.07 centimetres here at the narrowest part, and that goes up to 1.2 centimetres. So nice, as I've already said, comfortably sized section. Let's get rid of this and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales. The full pen, 31 grams. Cap, 10 grams. The pen itself, 22 grams. Not overly heavy, but also not one of the lightest pens I've got. Let's move these out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is an iUse notebook, A4 in size, 100 GSM paper. Really nice, really fountain pen friendly paper. It's time to write. So we've got here a TWSBI Draco. It's got a broad nib on it. And as I've already said, it was 215 Aussie dollars. The ink is by a company called Pure Pens. This is a Welsh company. Now today I'm having a few problems with my writing. I don't normally get that, so I'm wondering if it's down to the fact that I've had the pen open so much whilst I've been doing this recording. Anyway, the name is People's Charter. So although this company, Pure Pens, sells the ink, it's actually made for them by Diamine. There's a really nice story behind this ink. It's part of a 4-ink series called the Chartist series. Really recommend you go to the Pure Pens website and check that out. Let's look at drying times. There we go, immediate. I'll do that again, immediate. For some reason it was struggling. Right, let's go immediate. What I've done is I've actually repositioned how I'm sat, so hopefully we won't get any more issues. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. We're nearly dry there at 30 seconds. 1 minute. Yeah, after a minute, a little tiny smudge on this end, but other than that, it's dry. I'm going to move the mic down to the paper so you can hear the pen write. Let's see if there's line variation, so no pressure. And then with added pressure, so we are seeing a definite wider line. And we see that coming through here as well on the S's. So yeah, although it's a steel nib, we do get something out of it. And then my final flow test. Flow keeps up really well. Now, you would have noticed at the start we had that issues writing. I think that was a Gary problem. What I've done is I've repositioned how I'm sat. When I'm recording, I'm at a really awkward angle. So I think I wasn't quite getting the nib in the right orientation to write with. Once I moved, as you can see, had no further issues. Now, I like this pen. It's nice to write with. I hate the pen at times though because, as I said, the nib, just too small. But the nib performs so well. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to come through on this paper, but the ink, yes, it's this nice, maybe burgundy colour, but there's a gorgeous green sheen to it. Not really coming through there. I thought maybe I just saw a bit. No, what I'm going to do is fetch in my Tomoe River. This is 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. So we've got here the TWSBI Draco, and in here you can really see that greenish sheen. Now hopefully and get this so it catches on the camera. This letter I, the T in think, bottom part of the H, the I, and the N and the K in think. I'm seeing a really nice green sheens coming off this. So it's hard for me to see over my camera preview, but certainly, unlike a lot of papers, this is really showing up to my eye at the moment. Loads of green coming through. I do love my green colours. So let's give this some scores. We're going to start with pen looks. I love it. I love the look. I really do. To me, it's a really pretty looking pen. I like the size. It's a nice, comfortable size. You know, the material's nice, it feels nice. Ink window could have done with being double the size. I know, very minor issue. It's still usable, but I would have preferred to see a little bit more of that ink. Nib. Yeah, it's rose gold, coloured. Not rose gold itself. Not gold, steel, and it's small. To me, as I say, it looks out of proportion with the rest of the pen. And that's one of the main reasons that I marked this pen down. So for pen looks, if the nib would have been bigger, I'd have given it a 9 out of 10. But because that nib's so small, I'm only going to give it an 8 out of 10. Writing experience. So I've already called out about the ink window being too small. So yes, you can just about see when you're out of ink, but I do struggle with it sometimes. Writes really well. I know I had this issue here. That's the first time I've had an issue anywhere with this on any paper. And I think it was to do with my writing position rather than the actual pen. Because once we fixed the position, wrote lovely. Really nice. We can see loads of shading coming through. We've got this glorious green sheen coming through the ink. The nib is smooth. Maybe if I was going to whinge a little bit, the nib's a little bit too smooth for me. I'd like to have a little bit more feedback to it. See some nice line variation. That's natural line variation there. So that's also nice when I'm writing because that does come out in a lot of my sentences. Writing experience, going to give this a 9 out of 10. Ink flow. What we can see here, again, apart from up on that first couple of sentences, we can see it's really nice. I've had no issues with the ink flow, no issues with hard starts or skipping. Apart from here, it writes well, really nice. 9 out of 10. Value for money. This is where I struggle with this pen. And I've got to be honest, I think I've been generous with the score I'm going to give it. It looks nice. It's a pretty pen. It writes nice. Horrible little nib. I think price-wise, personally, it's overpriced. $215, I think, is too much for this pen. Especially when you compare it to the two that I brought out. You know, we've got gold nib pens, which look just as nice. If this pen would have been about $150, that's Aussie dollars, I think that's what would have been a better price for it. I really do think $215 is high and then a little bit more so. I'm glad I bought the pen because, as I say, it's a pretty pen. It's a nice pen. It writes nicely. It's a pen that I've always had inked up since I got it. Yes, I know, I say that to a lot. This is a lot of my problem. I've got so many inked pens because I just enjoy using them all. It's just the price and that little tiny nib. So for value for money, I'm going to be generous, as I say. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which gives a total score for this pen of 8.5 out of 10. So this has been my focus of the TWSBI Draco with Pure Pens People's Charter ink. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got the TWSBI Draco? As I say, to me, it's just one of those pens that I'm really, some days I love it, some days I hate it. What are your thoughts? What are your experiences? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.